Hi everybody, it's Annette from The Art of Intuition, and today we're going to talk about regrets and timelines. And we're going to get a little into how we feel sometimes when we close out timelines, jump to a new one, and we look back at regrets on old timelines. So I want to kind of explore that a little bit um, because I know the last couple of weeks I have been going through a little of that in myself. So I want to talk about that today. I was going to shoot this outside. um, Hadn't been on in a couple of weeks because I went through an upgrade and then I had some soul agreements to take care of last week. So this is my first time back for a while. And sometimes we'll notice that we'll go through physical clearings. And usually for me, it's an emotional clearing, then a physical clearing. And then usually there'll be emotional clearings that even come up after that because I'm starting to understand, especially when we move around. We move around a lot. We visit different places. Every place we go to has a different density. So if our body density is normally setting in a higher space, whereas our surroundings are a higher, a lighter, in a sense, lighter density, we go back to other spaces we used to live in that's denser, because you're going to find your body's going to move around because of it has to get at a lighter density, and the place we live in has to be a lighter density. So we're always going to be moving around to that lighter density as we go through our ascension process to get our body lighter. And that means we're clearing a lot of that programming. That's what makes our body so dense, all that programming. So what you're going to find is you might go to a place you used to be and you used to feel comfortable there, but now you go back there and you see a lot of that during this time of year because people are moving around a little bit, and just in general during ascension we go through different phases where we move around, but that's one of the reasons. So you're going to go back, and whatever's still in your body that matches the density of that location, it's going to trigger stuff to come up because you're still going to hold it somewhere in your body, or technically that place can't really exist anymore. So if you go back there, you're going to feel that you might have a lot of stuff come up. You might get agitated because anything in your body that matches that density is going to come up, and then you get back to the higher vibration, and then you're going to continue to clear. And that's kind of been what I was going through after that. So just be aware that's going to happen. So when you go to a place that's denser, certain places, the more people that are in a place, the denser it is. So you're going to find your body's going to want to set in different places. We kind of can't, because your body gets used to certain places. So that's why every once in a while, it depends on what phase you're in, you're going to be kind of moving around to clear more density from your body, because you really can't clear certain things unless you move the body to a different density, a place with a different density to it. So I kind of went a little around on that one, but I did want to kind of explain that a little bit. So if people were experiencing that, they're going to understand why they're experiencing that and what's kind of going on there. So when we talk about a timeline, and leaving a timeline, I exited timeline in October. I moved to a different space, a different location, different part of the state for a while, and getting more into a traveling phase. And we've kind of talked about that on here. But one thing I was finding myself doing was kind of regretting leaving certain people in the timeline. Certain people in the timeline, if I'd done stuff a certain way, if I had maybe maneuvered things, tried to align things in that timeline instead of closing out the timeline, I could have stayed there for longer if I tried that. And what I kind of started setting within the end was, because when we have regrets, we have to kind of resolve them, and regrets are our ego programming coming up, because your soul doesn't have any regrets. But we have a lot of cords of attachment, a lot of stuff attached to a lot of places we used to be, people we used to know, that's that humanness of it. So when we start moving around and we feel the call to move around, and I had a lot of the reasons why, a lot of, I want to keep my light on today. I don't really like to shoot in this location, but this is how it has to be today. So we're going to have to roll with it. When we feel the need to leave, and we've tried to upgrade, we've taken what we have, and a lot of times when we're talking about new earth realities, we're kind of, in a way, forced to kind of use stuff that humanity in a way doesn't want, how humanity exists today doesn't want, what third dimensional consciousness doesn't think is important, right? So we kind of are, in a sense, moving into places that we have to clean up, we have to do all this stuff too, because we kind of have to upgrade them, and it's kind of that alchemist, the wizard energy we talk about sometimes. We have to kind of make it beautiful. You know, we have to turn into something else, turning into space we can create. Whether you're in a big house, where I used to be in a lot of bigger homes, now I'm in kind of a smaller room with some other people in the home. But that's a different part of the process for me to kind of see if I can live with people in a sense. And coexist still at a high vibration. So it's kind of that learning process to see, can we all, does it throw me off, you know? So that's kind of why we have to go through certain parts. If you live by yourself, you'll have to live with people. If you live with people, you have to live by yourself. And you kind of constantly go through that just to kind of show yourself where you are, you know. Can you exist? Can you coexist? It's easy in a sense to coexist with people who think exactly the way you do or feel the same way you do. But we still have stuff to clear around people who don't. So that's kind of people. Some people call it ancestral clearing when you're dealing with blood family. This time of year, a lot of us deal with blood family, and we're kind of clearing out a lot of that stuff too. So just look at what's coming up for you. But when you look about leaving a timeline, and I knew this was going to be all over the place. When I get back on camera after a while, it always is all over the place. Think about everything you did in the past location to align it. You know I cleaned it, I had fixed it up, I had done all this stuff, and for a while that worked. You know, I had, done certain things to improve the property where I lived at before, and for a while that worked. But it got to a point where none of it worked anymore. You know, the landlord, it was kind of difficult. They didn't really want to fix certain things. And there were certain things, because it wasn't my property, I couldn't really fix it, because we have to hold respect for, for if it's not kind of our property, fixing it, changing certain things. We really aren't really, air quote, kind of allowed to do that. Not only in a third dimensional consciousness, but in a higher consciousness, because it is kind of interfering with maybe someone else's process, where if they don't want to fix it, it might shoot them into a timeline later on where they're going to have to. And they're going to start a whole karmic timeline that they might not enjoy. But we don't want to stop that from happening either. So there's a lot of different things we're going to go through, and we're going to see that. So a lot of times we try to align stuff, and after a while, it's like, I can't align this anymore. Like, now it's just gotten too dense. The situation can't be fixed in a sense. It can't be aligned. And it's time to move. And that normally happens when it's time to move. It kind of pushes us out, whether we're physically pushed out or we just kind of feel like it's not supporting us anymore. Because our body's vibration, the support of our body, is the biggest thing we're going to do. It's the most important thing to us. So if our body's not being supported, for us to be able to put out the work we have to put out and reach the consciousness we have to reach to, to kind of share that with humanity, then we have to then go somewhere that's going to support that, and that's kind of where a lot of people are right now. So leaving timelines is sometimes not the easiest thing to do, because we have all the attachment of the old. But one thing that it's important to kind of really feel into is, if you had not existed in that timeline, in the frequency you were in, the people in that frequency with you would not have been there. So you can look at it a different way, where if you had maybe done it more human consciousness, if you had done it a different way, maybe you could have held out longer, maybe you could have stayed longer, maybe you could have, made it work a different way. But knowing if you shift anything in that timeline, then the people in that timeline, you don't get the same aspect of them, and you might not even get the same people. So the experience you had in that timeline was based on the vibration you were holding. Anything you would have done to switch that vibration, then you could not have had that same timeline. You never would have met those people. You never would have had that experience with that person. You never would have had all those, the thing you're sad about leaving, or the thing that after you leave you kind of miss it or you regret it leaving. So we have to kind of resolve all that and understand that if I hadn't been on this journey, that timeline never takes place. So now, because I'm on that journey, now I'm in a different part of my journey, where some of that stuff has to rearrange, but you can kind of rearrange it from afar. Sometimes when you get away from it, you can kind of see. You can kind of see how we might be kind of putting up with not requiring the highest of people, accepting less. I'm going to do a whole video on accepting less. But I do want to kind of just get into that a little bit. And I'm not going to have this one run too long, because I have one platform I have not posted to in forever, because I can't be over 15 minutes, and my last ones have been very long. So we're going to leave it at that for now. So really resolve the regret and look at how you were in that timeline. It's super important to understand. And once you resolve the regret and kind of forgive yourself for leaving the timeline, don't continue to do it. If you keep continuing to do it, you never really did it in the first place. So we don't want to have to keep forgiving ourselves. Okay. Keep practicing the art of intuition.